Welcome. So let's talk about the next series under economics expected topics. So first is the National Pest Surveillance System. Now this was introduced as an AI powered platform to help farmers to understand experts advice for pest control, and this advice would be given to the farmers. The idea is to focus on fourfold mechanism: the biological control, chemical control, physical control, or cultural pest controls. Now, some of the important things is using the advanced technologies, digital accessibility, and consultation. Now, through this, one important project is the integrated pest management system. Now, this would help to increase the farmers' income, lowering the burden which has been used for the use of pesticides in the agriculture, bringing in higher quality crops with minimal pesticides, and reducing the pesticide residue. The next is this itself, the integrated pest management itself has numerous challenges, which is mainly in the form of declining yield, the poor quality, and making it more time consuming and resource intensive. So there has to be region specific, crop specific strategies that should be implemented. The next is creative economics. Now under this, All India Initiative for Creative Economics aims to bring in potential for India's creative industries, and this actually talks about giving a green signal to what is called as orange economy. Very important term for your UPSC. And this talks about evolving the concepts for creative assets to increase the economic growth and knowledge based economic activities. Now it focuses on creation, production, and distribution of goods and services, which mainly focus on creative and intellectual capacity. So there would be a national policy on IPR, UNESCO Creative Centers, Zonal Cultural Centers, National Creator Award, and International Year of Creative Economy as some of those. Now it focuses on the original ideas, imagination, and then generation and utilization of intellectual property, right, and development. So importance of creative economy has a very important focus because it drives the economy, brings in social change, brings in more hospitality and tourism. And the most important thing is the sector which is notable for its demographic diversity is 23% of the workers in creative industries are between 15 to 30 years, and 45% of those are women. So barrier which actually obstructs this is the internet connectivity, the digital divide, the disparities between the access to the digital galleries and online platforms, and cyber security as another important concern. The next one is model skill loan scheme. Now government introduced the model skill loan scheme. Now the credit guarantee fund scheme for skill development was introduced in 2015 and aims to bring in institutional credits to actually pursue skill development courses. Now here we aim to empower the youth, provide vocational education, employment growth, support economic development, and repay the flexibility. Now what is again important is to understand the transit oriented development. Now this has been planned for 14 major cities with population of more than 30 lakhs in India and brings in a comprehensive strategy for implementation. Now this strategy talks about proper land use, transport planning, and making a livable, walkable community, which actually integrates the various functions and promotes pedestrian and bicycle life. Now the major components include housing, high quality multimodal transports, which include the metro lines, which includes the feeder buses, drop off zones, park and ride facilities. And the national transit oriented development policy has three important pillars: to create a walkable, affordable community, promote public transport, and promote facilitation of transition within the cities. So smart city mission also includes these, and last mile connectivity. Urban Infrastructure Development Fund talks about establishing the priority sector lending shortfall for the same. And then there are various challenges which must be seen for the which must be mitigated for the issue. The next is Lok Sabha approved the Finance Bill 2024, which talks about amendments in the long-term capital gain provision, which concern to immovable properties. Now, in 2024-25 budget, the proposal is to remove the indentation benefit for calculating the long-term capital gains on sale of properties. Now, this would uphold the removal of indexation and would actually be allowing for grandfathering of the properties acquired. Now, this framework would include individuals, Hindu undivided family who purchase the property before the date, and they can choose two options. One option is they can pay the reduced long-term capital gains at 12% without indexation, which entails them 20% with indexation benefits, and this would be the second option, that is to go for the previous regime. Now, this focuses on mainly inflation adjusted demand and encouraging the asset accumulation. The next important topic that we would discuss is about the uneven development across the various regions, and this has been discussed in relative economic performance of Indian states from 60s to 2023 and has been published by Economic Advisory Council to PM. Now, this disparity talks about the per capita income differences. The states in the western and the south have higher per capita income. Delhi has a per capita income at 250% of the national average, 2.5 times higher. However, West Bengal has a national average, has 27% above national average, ranking third. And then there has been notable decline in other areas. Now, what is the important thing? If there is higher amount of disparity, it would lead to security threats, environmental impact, it would imbalance the economic growth, and there would be more migration from the downtrodden areas to the better off areas. And the case study for each of the region has been given in details, which would be available in the handout. So the idea is mainly to promote vocal for local, and the idea is the people should not move out from the native place at the rate as they are now. The next is middle income trap. Now, World Bank published the report of world development, the middle income trap, which includes the focus on India at the idea that there is the risk of getting stuck in the middle income trap, and that is because of inflation, economic stagnation, policy implications, and social challenges. Now, World Bank actually defines middle income countries as economies whose per capita gross national income ranges from $1,000 to $13,000. And then there is this term which has been introduced first time in 2007 with reference to East Asia Renaissance, which talks about a situation where the economies are developing rapidly but stagnate at a middle income level, and they do not progress to high income status, and India is among one of those nations. Now, India's low investment in research and development, rising income inequalities, rising external debts, financial issues are some of the major concerns which could be related to it. The next is financial inclusion and 10 years of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Now, Jan Dhan Yojana talked about the JAM Trinity, which is the Jan Dhan, then the Aadhaar card and the mobile. So joining and combining these, bank account for everyone at a zero balance was the idea, and with this more transaction payments, insurance, all of those could be covered in a sustainable manner. The requirement for the middlemen could be reduced, and it would bring in more financial literacy, better insurance schemes, better access to credit and banking, and would have better overall banking infrastructure with better saving habits for an individual. So the role of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and this mission, which was started in 2014, talking about opening of saving accounts, remittance, credits, pension at affordable cost, have been important. The next is 50 years of India's microfinance infrastructure. Now, this talks about the Seva Bank, which became the India's first microfinancial institution when it was registered as Cooperative Bank in 1974. Now, this work was on the basis of the Muhammad Yunus idea for founding the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, and RBI actually worked as a regulatory authority for the microfinance institutions. The Malegaon Committee which was established in 2010, talked about a framework for NBFCs, MFIs, which is the non-banking financial companies, microfinancial institutions. Now, this talks about the provisions for financial services, range of services like saving account, money transfer, key driving for financial inclusion, and then the challenges for the same. The next is poverty in India. There was a report which was 3P, that is Poverty, Prosperity and Planet, Pathways to the Poly Crisis, which was the first assessment for global progress towards interconnected goals to eradicate poverty, and it focused on the economic, social, environmental and political factors. Now the World Bank talks about the global poverty, living in extreme poverty would be 7.3% by 2030, up from 8.5%. And the figure is more than double the World Bank's target of 3%. So that is again a big gap. And India, if we talk about the extreme poverty, there has been a decline from 431 millions to 129 million in a period of nearly 30 years, which is a good indicator. And World Bank defines a salary of or an income of 2.15 per person per day below that as in extreme poverty. So the National Planning Commission talked about the poverty line between 15 to 20 rupees per capita per month and talked about minimum standards of living. Bombay Plan later suggested it at 75. Then after independence, there were two different lines for rural and urban area, 20 and 25. Then Dandekar and Rath committee came in, which talked about that there should be a poverty line based on calorie requirement, which should be 2250 calories per day for rural and urban. Alag committee changed the calorie guidelines, less for urban, more for rural. Lakhadwala committee talked about the consumer price index. Tendulkar committee again moved from calorie index to per capita baseline for 816 rupees per month in rural areas and 1000 rupees in urban areas. And Rangarajan committee again talked about separating the rural urban baskets and the recommendations based on the same. So there have been various developments and changes in bringing the poverty line definition in India, but overall the definition for the global standards we have discussed. The next is Global Innovation Index. Now, this was released by World Intellectual Property, Cornell University and Insta Business School, talking about social entrepreneurship and the opportunities for the same. So, talking about research, investments, linkage, absorption and diffusion. There were various top ranking spots, for example, Switzerland, Sweden, US and Singapore, and India ranked 39th of the 133 nations. Now, the social entrepreneurship and social enterprises focuses on the methods to generate economic wealth, foster economic and social entrepreneurship through missions like Atal Innovation Mission, Atal Tinkering Lab, which has again been given boost in this budget session. There were various efforts, for example, corporate social responsibilities, social stock exchange as another ones. Now, the next one is Financial Inclusion Index. Now, RBI published this index in March 2024, reporting a value of 64.2% compared to 60.1. Now, this is a holistic measure which talks about banking, investment, insurance, postal, pension, and ranges from 0 to 100. 0 talks about exclusion, 100 talks about 100% inclusion. So, the key parameters is access, which is 35%, usage 45%, and quality 20% as part of it. The next is Annual Survey for Unincorporated Social Enterprises. Now, this focuses on understanding the informal economy in India, the planning policies for the same, entrepreneurship, innovation, data and research. The next is UN Global Tax Convention. Now, this talks about a framework for international tax cooperation, focusing on fair, stable and efficient international taxation systems. Now, there are developing nations which support the treaty, but on the other hand, developed nations which oppose it. So, it talks about avoiding any kind of tax evasions, illicit financial flows, bringing in tax justice, mobilizing sustainable development and international cooperation. The next is non-tariff measures. So WTO, under the World Tariff Profile, ranked India as the second largest user of non-tariff measures in 2023. Now, these measures are standards which can negatively impact the trade by changing the quantity, price, or both. So, it could be in the form of phytosanitary measures, quotas, technical barriers to the trade which could be implemented. The next is debt for development swaps. Now, this is where a paper was released by IMF and talked about debt swaps, which are agreements between government and the creditors to replace the sovereign debts with new liabilities, which could be commitment of fund to a specific development goal and factors related to that. Then there is a World Trade Statistical Review, which WTO brings in, talking about the trade. So the major exporters are China, US, and Germany, and major importers again these three nations. Now India is among one of the major lists in importers, but not in exporters. So definitely we have a very high cost of borrowing, and as a result they are now thinking about ways to curb the high cost of borrowing. So discontinuing the sovereign gold bond could be one of the possible ideas behind it. The next is global employment trends. Now global employment trends under the ILO talks about understanding the achievements, challenges, and prospects of the youth. The global unemployment rate reduced to 13%, lowest in 15 years, which is a big figure, we could say. So bringing in green jobs, climate change, technological displacement, and informal employment is among the few of those. The next is financialization. Now financialization is a process where economic and financial markets institutions increase the influence over economic policies and bring in a trend. So they improve the access to capital, economic growth, wealth creation, liquidity, and efficient allocation of resources, right? The next is Bhaskar initiative, very, very important. Now this is the Bharat Startup Knowledge Access Registry given by the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Talks about India's ecosystem for startup, for investors, and making a networking pull based on this. So it focuses on data driven decisions, agriculture, healthcare, climate change, infrastructure, and provided interactions for participations, collaborators, and bring in centers for innovation and cross-border collaboration. So this Bhaskar scheme and initiative is one such important one. So thanks for joining in. In the next section, we'll focus on issues related to security. So stay tuned for further developments. Thank you.